I don't know if everybody realizes it. I don't know if everybody's paid attention to it. But we are in what I want to term a Mishkan Beis Hamikdash moment in history. Kind of. Maybe. If you want it to be, then it is. Let me explain. It's a little complicated. Maybe I'll give you the background. A few days ago, I was speaking with my wife. It's always a good thing to do. That's the Shalom Bayis advice for the Shmuze. And I said that in speaking to different people, I said that apparently in different parts of the city and parts of the country, people feel like, not so much a war going on. And I said to my wife in a chipper way, the sun was shining, I said, you look outside and kind of people are walking about, and the kids are out, and people are playing, and you go to shul, and you can go to stores, and the non-essential things are open, and the essential things are open. So always interesting what's considered essential, but that's a different shmooze. And my wife just kind of said, yeah, but you know that a rocket fell today and people were killed. Like, a little bit of a downer, to be honest. I don't want to comment about policies, communal, national. That's beyond my pay grade and not really something that I'm interested in. What I would like to share with you is a hargasha, just a feeling that I have. There's a piece in the Sichos Musar from Rabbi Schneider from the Yom Kippur War. There he points to a number of different characters, which he uses as models for us in times of crisis, times of war. One of the people he points to is Eov. Chazal say that when Paro was in the planning stages of genocide against the Jewish people, he had three advisors, an all-star cast: Eov, Bilam, and Yisro. Bilam was totally in favor of the genocide, so he was punished and killed later on, say Chazal. Yisro was dead set against genocide of the Jewish people. You don't want to get on Paro's bad side, so he kind of had to promptly leave Mitzrayim. But, say Chazal, Yisro was rewarded with tremendous descendants from Moshe Rabbeinu, etc. And Eov, say Chazal, was silent. Parav. And because Eov was Parav, so he was punished as well. So it says from Chaim Shmulevitz, what exactly did Eov do wrong? He didn't do anything. And you want him to get up and speak? Well, that didn't work out. Because Yisro tried to stop it, and he got chased out. So he didn't do anything. So what exactly are you finding fault in Eov? So he says that, I think the Baal Musar say, that when a person is in pain, they scream. Even if it doesn't make sense, even if it's not logical, even if it cannot change the outcome. But when a person is in pain, he screams. And therefore, Eov should have done something. Eov should have screamed. Maybe he wouldn't have been effective, but he needed to do something. Klal Yisrael is in crisis. Klal Yisrael is in pain. We need to scream. We've all been to a kumzitz, to a wedding, to a concert, to something, and there's music. The music is going, the bass is pounding, and you can't help but kind of getting into it. And that looks different for every person. Some people do a little sway. You got the head going. Sometimes there's tapping, there's banging, there's bouncing. Some people are dancing. Everyone's doing something, and it's all beautiful. Everyone's reacting. And then there's that one awkward guy in the corner, kind of with his hands in his pockets, just standing there. You kind of look at him. How do you not hear the music? How are you not moving some way? How are you not moved by this? You want to sway with your eyes closed, arms out, whatever it is. But how are you here experiencing this that everyone else is experiencing, and everyone else is moved by this, and you're just standing still? You're doing nothing. I'm afraid that we're not talking about the people in Chutz La'aretz. We're talking about the people here in Yerushalayim, surrounding areas of Yerushalayim, who have had relatively few interruptions, relatively few interrupted sleeps, and I can't help but thinking that some of us are listening to the music and are standing there with our hands in our pockets, doing absolutely nothing. Klal Yisrael's in crisis. We have to scream. On a minimal level, there's a machlokes between the Rambam and the Ramban about the nature of tefillah. The Rambam says that there's a mitzvah midaraisa to daven every day, whereas the Ramban says that there's a mitzvah only in crisis mode, and we paskin, I think, like the Ramban. Just so everyone realizes, when we daven right now, we're davening a daraisa tefillah, according to the Ramban, the way we paskin. But I think there's more than that. When we heard sirens the first time in this round, a few weeks ago, Parshat Zachor, so I'd already come home from shul. I was trying to learn, and my kids, well, if you met my kids, you can imagine what they were doing. So after the initial shock, for the first time and the second time, I forgot what it was. So my kids went to the Mirpeset to just kind of get some fresh air, check out what's going on, and they called me to come look. There were two things which just caught my eye. One was almost literally outside of my out of my apartment. There were 3 massive coach buses lined up, because my apartment is in a parking lot, which is a rally point for soldiers who get called up. This happened on Simchas Torah, but this time they were much more organized. There were buses lined up, just waiting to take soldiers. And then further off I saw a father there with a couple of his sons from the next building. Father is a regular guy. I didn't even know he was in the army. His kids, they have a lot of boys, some younger girls, so the boys play with my boys. They were in school together. And this was, 10 o'clock Shabbos morning, from the family, and he's sitting there in his army uniform with his backpack on, with 2 phones out. He's sitting there talking to his Cheder boys, and then all of a sudden a car comes speeding up. Just regular Shabbos morning. Throws his stuff into the back of the car, gets in, drives off. So, and that's one story. There are many stories like this, many families like that. But just think about it for a second. Some of us are a little bit annoyed that our Bein Starim beauty sleep kind of gets interrupted sometimes. And there's a family in the building next door to me, has 7 kids under bar mitzvah. They're all at home, and the wife's wondering what's with her husband on the Lebanon border. Kind of, let's balance that. There have been people who have been killed, who've been maimed, people who are suffering, and we're kind of wondering, are my Pesach vacation plans going to get canceled? What's going to be with my vacation? It just kind of doesn't add up. The worst of it might be, in my mind, if we take all these interruptions in stride. Nothing bothers me. Because then basically nothing's wrong, nothing's different. The music's blasting, and we can't hear it. We're not reacting. There's different types of music going on. There's somber music. Somber music, you sway a little bit, you put your arm around someone. There's exciting music, there's jumpy music. But we're just kind of going about regular. We have in Parshas Pekudei, the very first word, Pekudei, El Pekudei Mishkan. What does Pekudei mean? So if you look in the Targum Onkelos, Pekudei means to count. The Ksava Kabbalah is bothered. There's other words for counting. Sfira. Why does it say these are? Why does it say Pekudei? It's a very unusual word in Tanakh. So the Ksava Kabbalah explains that there's 2 types of counting. You count, he says, let's imagine days of the week. This is the first day, this is the second day, this is the third day. But really, each item is an independent entity. There's Monday, there's Tuesday, there's Wednesday. Those are independent entities. And by nature of the counting them, I'm lumping them together. These are 3 days of whatever I've been doing. That's one type of counting. Then, says the Ksava Kabbalah, there's another type of counting. There's a type of counting where the item doesn't exist in the count until it's part of a unit. Imagine you're counting dimes or something. So what do? You start making piles. You make 10 dimes in a pile. Okay, now it counts. Now it's 1. But until you've made that pile, it doesn't count. It's definitional to the count is that it's part of something bigger than itself. So says the Ksava Kabbalah, those are these 2 words. Sfira means to count something which is independently valuable. Sfira Sa'omer. This may have to do with halacha, miss a day. But says the Ksava Kabbalah, Sfira Sa'omer, when we count, every day is an independent count. I count today's day 1, today's day 2, today's day 3, etc. It's just that 1 and 2 and 3 are 2 is relative to something preceded it and something follows it. But that's what sfira is. Pakad, says the Ksava Kabbalah, is something different. We have in Sefer Shmuel that pakad is used as a term to mean a census. Says the Ksava Kabbalah, when we're counting people, no one exists on their own. Definitional to our existence is we're part of something bigger than ourselves. And he says that's why we have pakad, also means to remember. Vashem pakad es Sarah, we were laying on Rosh Hashanah, because there's remembering something. Oh yeah, I didn't turn the light off in my room this morning. That's one type of remembering. There's another type of remembering where the thing that I'm remembering is in a greater context of something else. Hashem remembers Sarah not because, oh yeah, I forgot Sarah hasn't had a baby, but I remember a broader context of Sarah. And says the Ksava Kabbalah, that's why we always count people in the Torah, not just, these are the numbers. We count Shvatim. We count a Beis Av, you're part of a family unit. Because the emphasis is, says the Ksava Kabbalah, that you're bigger than who you are as an individual. You're connected to something bigger, and that's connected to something bigger and bigger and bigger. And that's the word used when we're taking account of the Mishkan. But why? Why is that significant when it comes to the Mishkan? So, I think really it touches on something very, very fundamental in terms of Mishkan and Mikdash. Kli Yakar points out that the two main characters, the architects of the building of the Mishkan, are Betzalel and Aholiav, from the Shvatim of Yehuda and Dan respectively. Now, why does that matter? So says the Kli Yakar, because remember in Parshas Vayechi, the end of Sefer Breshis, Klal Yisrael gets brachos, and at the end of Sefer Dvarim, V'zos bracha, Klal Yisrael also gets brachos. Says the Kli Yakar, the common denominator between Shevet Yehuda and Shevet Dan is they both have a bracha of a gur aryeh, a lion cub. Cool, nice. What does that have to do with anything? Why should that be significant? And those are the shvatim, those are the kolchos that are being used to build the mikdash. So if you look in Navi, in Yeshaya and Yechezkel, what you'll find is that the Beis HaMikdash, this is what we say on Zmiros on Friday night, the Beis HaMikdash is called a Binyan Ariel, the lion building. So I think the idea is perhaps like this. Mishkan is the lion cub, the Beis HaMikdash is the full-fledged lion. The idea of Mishkan to Mikdash, that transformation is, you're something small, but we believe there's so much more there, there's so much bigger. There's something so much bigger out there. That's what Pekude is. You're starting off small, you're an individual, but you are not an individual. You are part of something bigger. And that group is part of something bigger, and part of something bigger, and part of something bigger. And that's what I mean when I say that we're having a Mishkan Mikdash moment. Because we have an opportunity to stretch ourselves. We have an opportunity to expand our reach, to feel the uniqueness, the closeness of Klal Yisrael, to experience the Koch HaTfilah, to experience what it means to live in Eretz Yisrael, where we're literally looking to the skies. That's what we're living with. And some of us have no reception to hear this music. There's a very, very fundamental piece from Rav Shimon Shkop, one of the great Gedolim in pre-war Europe, in his introduction to his Lamsh Sefer Shari Yosher. There, Rav Shimon develops the idea that the goal of life is to imitate, to emulate the ways of Kadosh Baruch Hu, to bestow kindness, goodness onto others. And yet, he says, there's also an idea, a principle, that you have to develop yourself. So says Rav Shimon, how do you put that together? How can I be focused on developing myself when my goal in life is to give to you? So he says that the answer is, you have to expand your definition of self. The more I identify myself with a larger group, so the more when I'm serving myself, I'm serving that larger group, the needs are the same. That's the Pekude attitude that the Ksava Kabbalah is describing. Pekude means, I'm counting this, but it's this counting as part of something bigger. That's what Rav Shimon Shkop says, what Chazal say, Im ein ani limili ve'im ani la'atzmi mani. So he says, if I'm not for myself, then what am I doing? Meaning, if I'm not for my expanded definition of self, then how could I be doing something? But if I'm only for myself, my narrow definition of self, mani, so then what am I doing? It's all about myself, but myself is the broader definition of self. And it's not easy. That's why we give a special bracha Shabbos morning to those that are osekei b'tzarech tzibur be'emunah. We have to give a bracha. We have to give encouragement to people that are involved in cloud work because it's not easy. But we have to ask ourselves, what are we doing? Has anyone done anything different because there's a war going on? Anything? Not saying Tehillim in yeshiva after mincha. No, that's happening for us. Anyone doing something different? Anyone have a Tehillim seder? Anyone have learning tefillah? Anyone's getting up early? Anyone's doing chesed when I have time? Something? Making a bracha with kavana? Something? The music's blasting. Are we just sitting there with our hands in our pockets? We're doing nothing? And if we say, oh, what am I going to do? My actions are so insignificant, we'll go back to Eov. If Klal Yisrael screams, if a person's in pain, they scream. Now, some of us might say, well, before the war started, it was difficult enough for me to kind of keep up and sleep and, keep up with everything I need to and go out for ice cream, all the important things. So I don't think that that's an appropriate attitude. I'll tell you a story. Rav Pam was a Rosh Yeshiva in Tervadas in America, and he had a grandson living in Eretz Yisrael learning Mir Yeshiva. And at one point the grandson was approached by Rav Nosson Tzvi, the Rosh Yeshiva in the Mir, to take on some position, to be a Shalom Yeshiva, something in the base medrash. So he called up his grandfather Rav Pam in America, and he said, what do you think? So Rav Pam said, I'm going to call Rav Nosson Tzvi myself. So Rav Pam called Rav Nosson Tzvi. When I heard the story from Rav Reisman, he said they spoke in Yiddish. I don't know why. They were both American born. I don't know why they spoke in Yiddish. That's just my own confusion, but okay. To make it sound firm, I guess they spoke in Yiddish. So Rav Pam said, I don't know why. He's a great boy, but he needs time to develop. He needs time to sit and learn, to develop kochos. Then he'll be able to give. So Rav Nosson Tzvi had a great line. Rav Nosson Tzvi said, when a person takes on achrayus, they get the kochos. The ability will come when they take on the responsibility. I think it's a great flip on Ben Parker. It's my own addition to the story. Ben Parker, remember Ben Parker, Spider-Man's grandfather? Yeah, Spider-Man's grandfather said, with great power comes great responsibility. Rav Nosson Tzvi is saying the opposite. It's the opposite. With great responsibility comes great power. It's a flip on Ben Parker. But I think that needs to be our attitude. Take on achrayus. I'm going to do something. I'm going to feel the music. I don't know what the music is. Maybe there's somber music today. Maybe there's jumping music. Maybe there's exciting music. I don't know. We'll work it out. But we have to be doing something. And just share one other idea. There's a Chassan Sofer. Chassan Sofer, in his introductions to his Tshuvas, points out that Avram Avinu sacrificed his own ruchnius, so to speak, because he was involved with the cloud. There was a need, therefore, the Chassan Sofer says, Avram sacrificed. However, says the Chassan Sofer, there's a special bracha that comes to people who are involved with Tzarchei Tzibur. It says the Chassan Sofer, well, these are not his numbers, but if it would normally take you 2 hours to learn something, it'll take you 15 minutes. Special koach in learning because we're involved in the cloud. So to say, I don't know, I couldn't have done it before, the inverse of Ben Parker, with when you take on achrayus, so the kochos come. So come back to just where we started. This is what I mean when I say that we're living in a potential moment of Mishkan of Mikdash. Because Mishkan and Mikdash is about, I'm here right now, but there's so much potential, I could be so much bigger, and I'm connected to so much more than just myself. The question is just, can we hear the music? Are we willing to dance our way to Mashiach?